You've heard the chant, right? Woman, life, freedom. It was everywhere, this powerful sound of a new generation. But, behind that incredible slogan, there's this really complex web of ideas, a deep-seated conflict that goes back over a century.
So to really get what was going on, we have to look past the headlines. What was the fundamental battle being fought, not just on the streets, but in people's minds? What big ideas were clashing and competing for the future? Okay, let's dive in and try to decode.
To help us break this all down, we're going to use the framework from analyst Noushin Ahmadi Khorasani. She makes this great case that there were three competing ideas, or discourses, all happening at the same time. And if you can understand these three, well, you've got the key to the entire conflict.
Now, before we get into those three different views, we need to grasp one central concept. It's a really powerful metaphor that Khorasani argues is the key to, well, the entire social and political structure that this movement was pushing back against.
This right here is the crucial point. The fight isn't just with the government, it's with the father, this deep-rooted system of guardianship, or kimumiyet. Think of it like this. The idea of a patriarch, a guardian who knows best, starts in the family, but it scales all the way up to the tribe, to religion, and to the state itself. It's this whole mindset that says individuals, especially women and young men, are basically kids who need to be controlled for their own good.
Okay, so keeping that idea of the father in our minds, let's look at the first and most traditional way of thinking that Khorasani points out. In this version of the story, women aren't even the players in the game of change, they're the prize.
This really flips the script on the whole debate, doesn't it? In this father-centric view, the issue isn't a woman's right to choose anything. The real fight is about which group of fathers, the ones who call themselves modernists or the ones who call themselves traditionalists, gets to call the shots. Her body literally becomes a billboard for somebody else's political agenda.
And you can see this thinking in action. I mean, it's pretty stark. You hear men saying that unveiled women are like flower pots beautifying the city. Or on the other side, that forcing women to take off the hijab is like tearing down the Berlin Wall to open up to the West. See what's happening? In both cases, the woman's actual choice, her own autonomy, is completely and totally irrelevant. She's just a tool, an instrument for a much bigger game.
But then, something radically different started happening. Something that Khorasani argues was the real, true engine of the Massa movement. This next idea is a complete 180 from the first one.
From object to subject. This is the whole game changer, right here. The movement wasn't about trying to swap one father for a supposedly better one. No, it was about rejecting the very idea of a guardian in the first place. The central demand wasn't for this dress code or that dress code. It was for the simple, radical right to choose for yourself.
So what does individual autonomy really mean here? It's a universal demand against all forms of imposed control. It doesn't matter if that father is your actual dad, a religious figure, or the state itself. The demand is exactly the same. Let me decide for myself.
And here's why this idea caught fire and spread so far. This whole system of guardianship, it doesn't just apply to women. Khorasani points out that young men are also treated as immature, as subjects of the father, right up until they get married, start their own families, and become patriarchs themselves. So you see, the fight for a woman's autonomy is really, at its core, a fight for everyone's individuality.
All right, let's get to the third viewpoint. Now this one is a little more abstract. It sees the woman not as an object to be controlled or a subject demanding freedom, but as something else entirely. A symbol.
So in this third way of thinking, the struggle over a woman's body becomes a symbol for every struggle in society. The goal is no longer just individual autonomy for its own sake, but the total liberation of all oppressed groups, with women acting as this kind of symbolic vanguard leading a huge revolutionary charge.
And this is a really important point. Khorasani offers a sharp critique of this view. She calls it idealist, arguing that by making women a symbol for everything, you risk losing sight of the very real, very concrete fight for individual freedom. It can become a little detached from the tangible, day-to-day struggle against the guardianship that people are actually facing.
Okay, so let's just pull all of that together for a second. This table lays it all out, nice and clear. First, you have the father-centric view. Woman is an object, the goal is control. Second, the individual-centric view, which really drove the movement. Woman is a subject, and the goal is autonomy from all fathers. And third, the identity-centric view. Woman is a symbol, and the goal is total liberation for everyone. Three totally different ways of seeing the exact same events.
So, if you have these competing ideas all swirling around, where does that leave us? What's the path forward? Well, Khorasani's analysis doesn't just diagnose the problem, it actually proposes a new way to think about the solution.
And at the end of the day, it all boils down to this one fundamental choice. Is the goal just to replace the current guardian with a better one, a more modern, maybe more benevolent father figure? Or is it to do something way more radical, to abolish the entire concept of guardianship and build a society of fully autonomous individuals? To get there, Khorasani connects the dots between two huge moments in history. Back in 2009, you had the Green Movement. Its main demand was political participation. Where is my vote? Then, in 2022, you have the Moxa movement, and its core demand was individual autonomy, the right to choose your own life. And here's the synthesis. One can't survive without the other. What good are individual rights if you have no political power to protect them?
So the proposed strategy is basically taking the best of both worlds. It takes the method that defined the Mossa movement, this incredible widespread nonviolent civil disobedience, and pairs it with a core demand that echoes the Green Movement, a call for a referendum, a real, formal way for people to participate politically. It's a path that says you need both personal freedom and political power.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? The Woman, Life, Freedom movement put this choice right in front of everyone. Is the future about building a totally new social contract between equal, autonomous citizens, or is that deep-seated impulse to just find a new, maybe kinder guardian just too strong to overcome? That is the challenge at the very heart of this movement. And the answer? Well, that's going to define the next chapter.